Is this hybrid claw grip or unique arm position the reason why Jawgemo is consistently dipping other duelists in the VCT? If you want to learn how this world champion controls his aim and mouse, then keep watching. Because today we're going to break down the mouse grip and posture of a Jawgemo. Let's start with his general setup. Like other duelists and pros, he tends to use a tilted 10 keyless keyboard to provide a bit more mouse space, but his mouse position is a bit further out than others. And we'll get to why this position is unique for mouse control after a quick check of the basics. He has an overall slouched posture, a closer monitor position, and the tilted position of the monitor is optimized for the center of the screen to be the point of highest focus. His mouse and arm are set further away from his body, outside of where the monitor is located. And this position can give him the ability to use more of his shoulder to control the mouse, bringing in more of his shoulder for certain movements. In this position, his shoulder is in external rotation and slight abduction. For example, if he moves his mouse to the left, he has the freedom to use three major joints of his body: his shoulder, bringing his arm closer to the body, or adduction, and shoulder and elbow, rotating his arm inward while also bending his elbow, and his wrist and hand, tilting his wrist to the left. And this is the same with mouse movement to the right. If you look at his mouse cam, you see that he tends to use his shoulder more for vertical aiming. His entire arm moves up and down the mouse pad while controlling those vertical aim movements. And this comes from using the muscles at his shoulder. Muscles like the lat, teres major, post delt, the long head of the biceps, and the triceps. Because of this and his slightly rounded posture, gaming shoulder or strain in this region is a common issue that we see. Doing a few key stretches and exercises can be helpful to avoid that from happening. Now zooming back out, what do you guys see here? His forearm is slightly floating, with only about half of his forearm being supported by the desk. This leads to more use of his shoulder at rest, and more use of the front of his shoulder when lifting and moving the mouse. And with that floating position, some constant use of his tricep, this muscle right here, as he maintains pressure on the mouse pad. And if he did have some pain, that would probably be a contributor. But if he has enough endurance of these muscles, it doesn't really matter that he's in this position or is rounded. Even though he uses his shoulder more overall, most of his mouse control does seem to come from his grip. Before we get into the mouse grip, sometimes pros have reached out to us with wrist and hand pain affecting their aim. And if this has happened to you, you might need to do some exercises. This is how we helped a CS2 pro who had a scorpion grip fix his wrist pain but also improve his mouse control. And if you feel like your hands are holding you back and want to try these mouse grips without any issue, check out the free guides in the link below. Jawgemo has a grip that all duelists seem to use, the palm claw hybrid with ring stabilization. And this can increase your overall control of the mouse. Is this his secret weapon? If you want to try this grip, start with the palm contact over here on the mouse, with the thumb contact at the middle of the mouse, ring finger at the corner or front edge of the mouse, and the pinky bent to contact the middle of the outside of the mouse, like this. Then you'll be tilting your wrist a little bit so the index knuckle is pointing away from the thumb. This is more of a neutral position of the wrist, and it's been shown to improve overall endurance of the forearm muscles. With this tilt, the contact of the point of the ring finger shifts from the side of the finger to the palm side. And this allows Jawgemo to use larger rather than smaller muscles to apply grip pressure at the mouse. And when we look at the bottom of the mouse, we can see why this is more important. Much like the grip of Ospas and Kang Kang, he uses that ring finger to provide more stabilizing pressure towards the palm, or pushing it towards the palm. And this can increase the perception of control and only works when the hand fits well to the mouse. Jawgemo uses that ultralight X medium, which is 121 centimeters in length, and more on the narrow end when compared to the G Pro Superlight standard of 125 centimeters. If you have a mouse that's too large for your hands, you have to stretch your fingers out a bit further to be able to provide that point of ring contact. You'll have better leverage when it's the right length. With your fingers a bit bent, you can better use your muscles to provide that stabilizing force. Which means that if you want to try certain grips, you have to get the right mouse for your hand size. And you can actually check out a simple calculator here, which can guide you on whether a mouse will fit well for you. Looking at the mouse cam, like many other tactical FPS games, the wrist is used for smaller angle movements, while the shoulder is brought in for any angle more than 90 degrees. His extended arm position makes the shoulder movements a bit more easy to control. And since it uses more overall muscles, this sometimes can be a cause for shoulder discomfort in players that we've worked with. And for those pros, we didn't focus on changing their posture or position. Instead, we focused on making sure the player had enough endurance of his shoulder muscles to handle the amount of shoulder movements during their session. Now with all of this, where does Jawgemo stack up with the other pros that I've looked at? The mouse grip itself is great because of the slight neutral rotation of the wrist. But because of that slouched posture, increased overall use of the shoulder, he joins the rest of his fellow duelists in the B tier. Ospas is truly the only S ranker here. And if you want to try this grip, just make sure you do some of these shoulder exercises we have in our routine playlist right over here. Otherwise, who's next?